was a person that everyone thought was crazy, but they ended up being right? Ignaz Semmelweis. In 1846, Semmelweis proposed the idea that hand washing could prevent the spread of disease in hospitals. He was ridiculed during his time, sent to a mental asylum, and died forgotten by his peers. Died of a staph infection, which might have been prevented with proper hand washing. Alfred Wegener, who first proposed continental drift, what would ultimately become plate tectonics. Geologists of the day considered him an outsider and rejected his theory. Ludwig Boltzmann. His equations and formulas explained the physical properties of matter. But as it went against the then accepted laws of physics, he was ridiculed and ignored for years while fighting for atom theory to be accepted. He took his own life just 3 years before Ernest Rutherford discovered the nucleus of an atom, proving Boltzmann's theory. Lindy Chamberlain Creighton. A dingo really did eat her baby. My grandma? She insisted people kept stealing her newspaper, and specifically said it was someone in a white van. Grandma was always a little off, so we just thought she was paranoid and had a bad delivery person. Until one day, my mom and I are driving past her house, and a white van in front of us stopped, stole my grandma's newspaper, and drove off. Grandma wasn't crazy after all, at least not about that. Barry James Marshall was one of the scientists who discovered that the bacteria H. pylori causes stomach ulcers. However, getting people to believe it was difficult. It was thought that lifestyle and excessive stomach acid were the main factor that lead to ulcers. So when he suggested that a bacterial infection could cause it, no one believed him. In response, he infected himself with H. pylori by drinking cultures, which in turn gave himself stomach ulcers and then treated the infection. He and Robin Warren received a Nobel Prize for this discovery. What is a phrase that only trashy people say? I don't care what the evidence says, that's your truth, and this is mine. Only God can judge me, because they never like the outcome from actual judges. If you can't handle me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best. I just tell it like it is. Nope, you're just obnoxious. Anyone whose Facebook education creds say, the school of hard knocks is sure to be a classless piece of shit. What seems normal at 2 p.m. but scary at 2 a.m.? A call from your parents. It was 12:02 a.m. when I got the call. My dad passed away a couple months ago. It was around 10 p.m. when I got the call from my grandpa that my grandmother was in the hospital when she fell and broke her femur at 78 years old. Getting a call from family that late, absolutely, is not a good time. Best hope is that they're just really drunk and need somebody to talk to. Knock at the door. Hearing an ice cream truck. Chair full of clothes. Work the following day. Which profession gets the most hate just for doing their job? I promise they don't set the prices. Customer support, where your capabilities are judged on your ability to help someone while they are cursing you. Most retail work. I once had a lady wait outside the store for almost 2 hours when I worked customer service at a toy store just to tell me how I ruined her kid's birthday by not giving her a popular toy that we were sold out of. Lady, I don't control our inventory. Social workers. They don't exist just to destroy your family and take your kids. Trucker here. People go absolutely ape shit at the very idea that I have a lower speed limit than they do and actually have to obey it. People risk death every day to not be behind a truck for even a few seconds. 10 years over the road and 0 accidents, but the number of close calls has been in the thousands. Veterinarians. There's a reason they have one of the highest suicide rates in a profession. They are burnt out, people always expecting more and more. But wait, they are only in it for the money and not animals. I've worked for vets with poor bedside manner, but the interest of the pet was always priority. And yes, mistakes get made, we are human. I just feel there's this unreasonable expectation put on them. Quality. In theory, your job should be to make sure bad things don't ship. The reality is, everyone sees you as an obstacle to meeting a deadline. Types of things I hear daily. I don't understand, it's only a ding, it'll still work. I know we didn't use the right supplier, but it's fine. They aren't certified, but it's not like it matters. But we've always done it that way. I know the work instruction says to do this, but it dries faster how I do it when an operator only used 1 part of a 2-part epoxy. When you work in strict compliance industries, these things matter. People most times would rather cut corners than do something right. Men in 40s and above, what are the life tips, advice that you will give for the men in 30s? Do not stay in a bad relationship just because it is scary to be alone, or because you feel sorry for her. I did that. Huge, huge mistake. Start now. Whatever it is, start now. Running, learning a new skill, life insurance, speak to a therapist, saving for retirement. Just start now. Life can start after 40. It did for me, but you don't need to wait. Eat well. Take care of your teeth. Be kind. Learn to maintain your social connections and form new ones, like calling and messaging friends out of the blue and organizing outings. Also, be able to open up with your feelings to them. The number one indicator of your health is your social health, more than diet or not smoking or anything. Loneliness will destroy your body and soul, and it gets easier and easier to become isolated and disengaged as you age, especially as a man. Your 20s are about finding your limits. Your 30s are about finding a balance. Kids grow up quick. No one ever went into their grave wishing they called in sick less. What is the saddest fact you know that most people will not know? About a third of people with epilepsy don't respond to meds. There's this thing called SUDEP too, which is sudden, unexplained death in epilepsy, where a person goes to sleep and just dies. My dad suffered from this. He would take his meds, but sometimes it wouldn't work. If he had lots of stress in his life, he would be on the floor having a seizure. He trained me on how to take out the keys in the car if he was driving and pulled over. One time he had one on our way to the highway. I was late for school. He had a seizure. I pulled over and he came back wanting to grab the keys from me. He didn't know he had a seizure. He passed away 6 years ago from heart attack, but I suspect it was the seizure's stress on his body. I was not there when he passed. Horrible illness, would not wish it on my worst enemy. A successful marriage ends with watching your spouse die. The amount of abandoned pets that know they've been abandoned. Former shelter worker. Yep, I'll never forget the Great Dane who just kept watching the car park whilst I was desperately trying to get him adjusted to his pen. He was anxious, alone, and he was just waiting. And then he just shrunk back when he realized they aren't coming back. I miss the good days. I quit because of the bad days. The astronauts likely survived the Challenger explosion. They were falling for nearly 3 minutes. Very few people in your life would actually drop what they were doing to help you. Cherish the ones that would. People who jog in the street when a sidewalk is available. Why? It's not a side run. That's probably the only acceptable answer. In my neighborhood, every driveway entrance is a dip slope going to the street. It's a balance issue and for me, a hazard. When I'm in the street, it's a consistent surface that's easier to navigate. Sidewalks are also more likely to have slight cracks, unevenness that can be easy to trip over. Streets obviously have cracks too, but not as many as sidewalks and easier to spot and avoid. Roadways have far less tripping hazards. Sidewalks are regularly uneven or poorly maintained. Then there's issues like other people, dogs, overgrown vegetation. Like any place with potholes is going to have even worse or non-existent sidewalks. I used to walk or jog a night through neighborhoods, little to no traffic or other people. Sidewalks are uneven, interrupted by driveways, sometimes with cars in them, sometimes vanish completely, have pedestrians walking two abreast, people walking badly trained dogs that attack runners and their owners, don't know how to control them, loose dogs, ditto. Both my wife and I have face planted on one occasion each by an unmarked raised slab that was practically invisible in the available light. A lot of trees shifting sidewalk slabs here and a very wet climate. Asphalt is more elastic than concrete. It's significantly better for your joints over long distances. What is the worst thing you have ever done to your body? Regularly compensate for a lack of proper sleep with unholy amounts of coffee. Worked it too hard for a job that would happily replace you in a heartbeat. Turned 40. It's like the warranty expired and everything broke at once. I drank quite a bit of cough syrup. What a stupid thing to get addicted to. Had babies. I'm glad I have them, but damn, my body has never been the same. Cutting myself? I have to live with these embarrassing scars forever now. It's a huge regret. What's an example of just because it's popular doesn't mean it's good? Reality television shows that have a large following but are often criticized for promoting negative behavior or scripted storylines, and most of them are psychotically idiotic. Literally 90% of the audience for these shows is hate-watching. Reality TV is an example of something being popular even though most people don't like it. The top mobile games are psychologically engineered to get people addicted and groom their habitual spending of obscene amounts of money. The best customers of these games are spending hundreds to $1,000 a week. Well, that's another episode of Ask Reddit in the books. I really appreciate all of you who made it this far into the video. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, it would really help the channel out a lot if you gave the video a thumbs up, subscribe, or leave a comment down below. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.